Hello and welcome everybody to Daryl and Boo's weekly update. Hey Daryl, how was your weekend?
Yeah, it was nice. It was kind of relaxing as usual, but nothing really too exciting. It's funny, yesterday, Sunday, I went out for a run in the morning in the rain, which was actually kind of nice. It wasn't very cold or anything like that. But and my wife was out at yoga in the morning. It was the first time I think I can remember in ages that Sunday we kind of just watched Netflix all day and really didn't do anything, just kind of on and off the couch and totally just chilled on a kind of gloomy, rainy Sunday. So, yeah, in that sense, it was kind of nice. We don't do that, like I said, very often, but it's a good way to recharge the batteries every once in a while. How about you? Hopefully you did something a little more enthusiastic than that.
Yeah, almost the same. I mean, it was definitely the weekend for that kind of stuff. Like it wasn't the greatest weather. We couldn't quite find a pocket to go mountain biking in. I was kind of eyeing up Saturday morning there, and probably could have pulled it off, but the weather forecast wasn't looking good when I went to bed, and so I kind of forgot about it, and then wake up in the morning and there was a couple hours where there wasn't rain, but that's okay. Rested the legs a little bit. Did go out to Cyprus for some skiing on Saturday night there. Just really awesome. A couple folks have asked about Cyprus, and I would say it's not the lines have definitely calmed down, or at least for the afternoons that we go, the lines have calmed down. So, you're not stuck in huge lineups or anything like that. And we're getting a bunch of snow up there right now, so it's really good weather up there. So, spring passes will be out soon, I'm sure, within the next couple of weeks, I bet, and folks can kind of get in a little bit more skiing at the end of the season if they want to.
Yeah, I definitely want to get up to Cyprus a few times before the season's over. Starting to hear some stuff about Whistler and COVID that it just doesn't make it too appealing to get up there. I think I'd more or less like to stay away from Whistler for the balance of the year and see how everything pans out there. But yeah, Cyprus is another story. I think it must be getting a ton of snow. I heard Whistler got 30 centimeters, so Cyprus must have got a decent amount.
Yeah, it's a great mountain, and between all, I mean, we're very blessed in Vancouver to have 3 mountains very close by, and you can kind of take your pick depending on what you want to do. Obviously, I think Grouse is pretty appealing because it has like the nicer chalet and stuff like that. So, and it's got more winter activities if you want to go up there for ice skating and whatnot. But if you want all the terrain, there's Cyprus, or if you want something for the kids to get started on, we have Seymour. And then we also, I shouldn't let anyone forget about Sasquatch as well, over in Agassiz there. Great mountain, and that's kind of a hidden gem for folks as well. So yeah, we're kind of blessed with 4 mountains all within an hour of Vancouver.
Yeah, and a couple of those are kind of year round. Obviously, Whistler has been a year round mountain for forever, but more people heading up to Cyprus in the summertime. Obviously, Grouse is super busy in the summer, probably even more busy with the Grouse Grind and just all of the stuff that it has to offer up there in the spring and summer. So yeah. Pretty cool.
Cool. Well, we got a guest on today, Sander Vinberg, and I think we're trying to sell him on Vancouver right now. So we'll bring him on and see what his take is on that. Hey, Sander, how's it going?
Great. How are you doing?
Very good, thanks. Did we sell Vancouver on you? Are you ready to come visit here when the border opens?
Yeah, I gotta say I was pretty much already sold, but then I listened to you guys talk about 4 ski mountains, and especially some that aren't totally slammed. I'm thinking, I would love to get up there as soon as possible. It's been, last year I didn't get up to Canada once. No, that's not true. I saw you guys in Vancouver and Victoria in January and February, and then after that I haven't been there now in just about a year, so it's kind of a drag. Hopefully I'll be up there soon.
Yeah. Now, for folks who haven't seen Sander yet on the Daryl and Boo show, Sander has been on a couple times already. Previously, just a couple weeks ago, you're on with Malcolm, Malcolm Heath, and we talked about the 2021 cybersecurity predictions. But for folks who haven't met you yet, maybe you can give us a 30-second synopsis on your role at F5.
Yeah, for sure. I'm one of the researchers on the F5 Labs team. And Labs is kind of a unique team at F5. All we do is collect data, do research, and release reports, and then we go around and speak about them that are essentially about like kind of an all-up view of the state of information security. And really what we're trying to do is put as much information in the hands of people whose job it is to defend their systems. Because, you know, it's really hard to know. There's so much noise out there, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way, but there's just so much talk about this threat, this actor, this vector, and it's really hard to know what applies to individual people. And so we're trying to help people get a sense of what is the stuff that they actually have to care about, what is the stuff that they can say this doesn't apply to me for whatever reason. So within that mission, I'm the lead researcher on the application protection report, which is sort of the one, it's the publication on our team that kind of takes the longest time frame and does kind of annual reviews of these are the trends we saw, this vector against this kind of target, so on and so forth. So that's what I do. We are kind of right now ramping up a big analysis of data breaches in the US from 2020. And so that was something I spent a lot of time last winter on. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. It sounds really nerdy to say that, but I'm really excited to kind of dig in and see what the trends are going to be like.
Yeah, that'll be pretty cool. And what I really appreciate about your guys' reports too is that there's data out there, but to put it all together is kind of the magic in what you guys do. Like you can, you know, one example was the data breaches and actually kind of trying to dig into what do people actually mean when they declare their data breach and they announce it, because sometimes you have to read in between the lines, which you guys do, and kind of parse together for everyone. Yeah,
those notifications are kind of a blessing and a curse, and it takes a lot of effort, and it actually takes a surprising amount of experience to read in between those lines. And actually, before I came on board this team, my boss, Ray Pompon, tried to have a bunch of interns from a local university who were in an information security program. He tried to kind of, because they wanted to collaborate with F5 Labs anyway. And he was saying, okay, this is a great opportunity. And he had them do a first pass on the notifications. And it wasn't a sort of a mark against them. He just found that it required a single person to review all of them and make sure that it was consistent, because one person might conclude a slightly different thing. But B, it just takes enough experience to sort of look at this and try to decompose, like from one or two sentences, what a whole scenario would have been. So it's a lot of work. It has allowed us to sort of draw some conclusions that we think are really necessary for the field. So it's kind of a labor of love, but it's also a ton of work. It's probably how I'm going to spend the next 4 or 5 weeks. So, you know, pluses and minuses.
Yeah, very cool. And the cybersecurity predictions report was cool for folks who haven't checked out that live stream yet, or at least, checking out the article, but really cool article written where you took some submissions internally at F5 for folks who kind of made some predictions, and Malcolm happened to make one that was true.
Yeah.
Ended up being true.
Yeah, that whole project was so fun, and it was particularly gratifying to get some voices from outside our own team, because, you know, one of the things that's amazing about Labs is it's very collaborative, and we sort of have evolved into this place where folks are kind of usually available to jump on the phone and work through something together, which is awesome. But it also means that we are starting to sort of see the world in very similar ways. And so to get Peter Scheffler and get Laurie McVitie to kind of come in with a different perspective, and based on what they're learning from talking to other folks in the industry, from talking with customers and partners, that was really cool. And you know, you ended up with 8 predictions that covered a really, really wide span, right? And so Malcolm's thing about the alternate social media platforms, hopefully that was just the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the one, and I mentioned it on the live stream there, but the one that kind of rung true with me was the home IoT stuff. And can you imagine being held ransom at your door by your Ring doorbell or something like that? Like somebody has hacked your door locks, you can't get into your house anymore, and they're contacting you via your Ring doorbell to say, hey, deposit some Bitcoin over here if you want to get back into your house.
Oh, it's hilarious. I just saw an ad on Friday, and in the ad there's this kind of like slick guy, and he gets out of bed and he's using voice commands to trigger all this smart home stuff, like the radio and the fireplace and the locks and everything. And then he goes to the dentist and gets a bunch of injections in his mouth and comes back, and his voice thing doesn't recognize his voice anymore. And so he's like, and then and his neighbor just walks right up and unlocks her door and walks in, and he's out there in the rain screaming. So I think more and more folks are starting to look at the smart home stuff and be like, I think I'm going to pass on that.
Yeah, or at least keep it to a minimum, because there's going to be more and more options available as we go here. And if you just kind of buy into all of them, it just,
and there's going to be some early adopter guy who's going to go all in, and he's totally going to get held for ransom.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully he's got tight security on. Well, actually, you know what? Two of the folks that I know that are really into home automation are real security gurus as well. So
good.
They're the ones that kind of felt safe doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I've been meaning to ask you too. I know you're a big music guy and you still play live gigs, obviously not right now, but have you been able to do anything other than kind of just playing at home collaboratively online with some of the people you play with while COVID's been going on? Or how's
Unfortunately, it's been a rough year for music for me. In the first half of the pandemic, I was still teaching. I was not exactly playing with people online. I know that there are platforms that have come up since then that are actually solving the latency issue. When I was doing it, there was so much latency that it was the sort of thing that, like just a fraction of a second when you're playing music is enough to throw you off, right? So I have not done any kind of collaborative musical work with anybody since like June, which is a little depressing when you count it out like that. Actually, mostly what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to get better at the piano, and I'm spending a lot of time kind of decomposing old tunes and trying to get a sense of like what's going on here, what's going on there, and it's funny. The tunes I'm working on are like Richard Rodgers of Rodgers and Hammerstein and Frank Lesser. So it's like these guys that were writing tunes that were basically show tunes. It's almost like pop tunes in the 30s. And it's like not exactly on anybody's list of like a really cool tune, right? But the composition is actually really good.
Oh yeah.
I'm like way into it, and who's Rodgers and Kern. Before he worked with Hammerstein, he was working with a guy named Kern, who was his original songwriter. And those tunes are amazing. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm sitting playing through them on piano, trying to get my voicings right. But then I'm also trying to pull them apart and say, all right, if I was going to try to accomplish the same thing and change up the chord progression, how would I do it? How would it affect the melody? So on and so forth. So it's all solo work at the moment, and it's fun. And the big question is, when we can all get back together, what is my music scene going to look like? I have no idea. There were some folks that I was talking with right as lockdown happened about collaborating, and we'll see if we're all in the same spot when we get out. And I don't even know. That could be 6 months. That could be 9 months. So.
Yeah, that's just it too, right? People's lives kind of change as this unfolds. You don't know if people will be kind of rushing to get back into it, or to say, you know what, this kind of changed and moved, or I didn't have time to keep up with it.
I feel really lucky. I feel really lucky that I have my job and I'm stable, and I am sort of, I was already sort of in this position before the pandemic where music wasn't my source of income anymore. It wasn't what I was putting in 8 hours a day. And that's kind of a drag. It's great to play music all day, but at the same time, I feel super fortunate that I was able to ride through this thing. And of course it interrupted my life, but a lot of the people I used to play music with are are kind of struggling and having to make it work in sorts of various ways. So I feel quite fortunate like that.
Yeah, no kidding. We still have a couple places in Vancouver that we don't have enough live venues in my opinion anyways, but we still have a couple good ones that still are having live music. And
Oh, really?
yeah, which is really cool. They just kind of really have spread out the venues and just make sure everyone's kind of distant and masked up and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we've taken advantage of that a couple times in the last month or so, which has been awesome.
Yeah, I miss both performing and going to see other people play. It's been a long time, so that'll be great.
Yeah, a little bit of normalcy.
Yeah.
A bit of a shout out here, but for the early folks that followed the Daryl and Boo show, Bob Oldfield, my father-in-law, gave some guitar lessons for us. I have to revisit those because it's been a while. Anyways, his group here, the Creeks, usually play through the summer at wineries. However, they did some recordings last year, and what they did was they just recorded separately and then mashed them all together. So they had some pretty interesting ones here, and my father-in-law was just having fun with his final cut and editing it all together. So yeah, for folks who want to, they can check out what they put together here. I think, what did they end up doing? Oh yeah, the neat thing about this is that you can have multiple people playing multiple instruments at the same time, recorded, and then smash it all together. So,
is that your brother-in-law there, Boo, playing the drum?
Yeah, that's my brother-in-law, who does play with them whenever he's up in the Okanagan around those guys. So when he's not there, then he can just record himself playing and then send it to them.
Creeks are awesome. My wife and I got a chance to see them play live at one of the wineries a couple of summers ago. And they're just a great band, play all sorts of really, just awesome music. Music's kind of right in my wheelhouse in terms of my age, but they play kind of a diverse set and really bunch of talented guys and fun to watch. So if anyone gets a chance, I recommend taking it in.
Yeah, actually, you know what, what was it that you recommended to us before?
Was it the Wood Brothers?
Wood Brothers. Yeah, I mean, that
those guys are amazing.
Yeah, it's a great band to listen to, and kind of these guys are kind of along those lines of the type of music they play. So
yeah, it's funny. It was like maybe 10 years ago that it popped on my radar, maybe a little bit earlier than that, when I felt like there was a subset of musicians who started kind of emphasizing this term of roots music as opposed to folk or country or Americana or whatever. And what I liked about that so much was that it covered the sort of musical traditions of both traditional Black music and traditional white music, right? And so it meant that you don't have to choose between being a blues musician or a bluegrass musician anymore, right? It's like you can pull in all these different kind of tones, you can pull all these different compositional styles, and it just kind of said, like, this is where music in North America came from, and we're not going to do genres and title labels because that's record company concerns, right? And so roots music was like, yeah, if we want to do a jazz tune, if we want to do a bluegrass tune, if we want to do a rockabilly tune, we're going to kind of take all these influences and mash them together. And I feel like the Wood Brothers are such a good exponent of that attitude.
Yeah.
And that is kind of so much where I see so much creativity in that space right now. And the fact that it's mostly acoustic instruments or kind of hollow body guitars, I just love that sound. It's really stimulating.
Yeah. I watched a movie a couple of weeks ago, Sander, that I'm sure you would love, or you would too, Boo, if you haven't seen it already, called Echoes in the Valley, I believe it was called.
Oh, I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, all about a place called Laurel Canyon, which is on the outskirts of LA. So this really cool California town, which is kind of nestled in the hills, and all these really different and eclectic little houses that are built in crooks and crannies of this Laurel Canyon. So, I mean, it looks like just a magical place anyways, but kind of in the late 60s, I guess, early 70s, it's just a melting pot for all of these great bands who kind of really set the tone for music in the next couple of decades.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. I played a gig. This is a while ago now. This is with my girlfriend and some of her closest friends who are musicians. And what happened was they were active in the theater scene in Seattle, and somebody was staging a book that had recently become popular and then written into a screenplay. And the book was set in the 60s, and it was kind of about drug culture in the 60s, and they wanted to capture that era. And so they hired us, and they said, please learn these like 6 or 7 covers for the purposes of the show, but then also, bring your own music into it as you like. But they specifically focus on the Laurel Canyon sound, right? And because that was like such a wide range of musicians. It had like Neil Young and Joan Baez and all these different folks. And they basically said, if you sort of like define your sound around that whole spectrum, everybody that was there, and like pull from any of these influences and just kind of make music in that style, it was such a fun project. And we ended up doing like Hendrix covers, but in a folk style. And cool. I don't even remember all the tunes we did, but that was the first time that I cued into that. It's almost like a movement, right? Yeah. Such a cool project.
Yeah, totally. This particular one, I think there's been a few movies, but this is the most recent one. It's narrated by Jacob Dylan, and he's got just some amazing artists that are he's interviewing live throughout this process. Tom Petty and goes on and on, and a lot of the musicians from the Mamas and the Papas and Beach Boys, and they just come on and tell their own individual stories about this time in the Laurel Canyon. I mean, it would have been absolutely amazing. These guys were just walking through each other's houses and jamming and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. So very cool.
You said Echoes in the Valley?
Echoes in the Valley. I'm pretty certain that's the name of it.
Yeah, I'll check it out. That's rad.
Yeah, you'll love it. Yeah, Boo, we got any, you pulled up any of your current events for the weeks before we sign off here? Anything interesting you want to have a quick look at? Or?
Yeah. So here's a good one for you, Sander. Next time you visit Vancouver, we have Uber and Lyft now. That wasn't in place about a year ago. Now, interesting, the taxi companies have been battling this still to this day. Now, this went to a judge, and the judge, Sandra Wilkinson, written ruling on Wednesday, sided with the PTB, Uber and Lyft, concluding, oops, hold on, I meant to share this. The judge's ruling concluded that nothing in the regulatory authorities' reasoning is obviously untenable, clearly irrational, evidently not in accordance with reason, almost bordering on the absurd, or so flawed that no amount of curial deference can justify letting it stand. So they got the book slapped on them.
That's a lot of negatives, right? That's like a quadruple negative.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's a well-crafted statement.
Yeah, they used all the good words for that one there. And yeah, so we still got our Uber and Lyft, although, obviously public transportation's a little bit down right now. But yeah, we get to keep them. For a long time, Vancouver held the title of being the largest city without Uber or Lyft.
Yes, I'm glad we gave up that one.
Yeah. Another good one here. There's a store called Rep Your Colors. Now, I had started seeing, for Sander's sake, we had the Vancouver Grizzlies, an NBA team. We had this in the late 90s, and they moved away. We couldn't keep them. And I'd started seeing, I think in the last couple of years, I started seeing retro Vancouver Grizzlies stuff. And I just wondered if people were just digging it out of their closets or something. But here's a store that will sell them. This is in West Vancouver, so a very nice part of Greater Vancouver here in the Park Royal Mall. And you can find your Vancouver Grizzlies gear. In addition to that, some pretty special items on here. Now we got what is this?
The Carter Expos jersey there.
Yeah. Here's a 1989 NBA All-Star jersey signed by Michael Jordan.
Wow.
$19,500.
Crazy.
Cool. Yikes.
Yeah. I'll probably be, it's 20 grand now. I'm sure it'll be worth more in 10 years. So,
yeah.
Wasn't there a pair of Nike sneakers that he wore, like his like debut sneakers? Didn't they just sell for $500,000?
Oh, really?
Something like that. I don't know. I'm the last person to ask about this sort of thing, but I'm kind of surprised that isn't more than 20 grand, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, Air Jordans have there are pairs that you can buy now, and I know this for a fact because my wife is a avid buyer of these, but $500-$600 up to thousands of dollars. And these aren't signed or worn or anything. They're just rare versions of Air Jordans that came out over the years.
Wow.
It's just amazing. Like how, like, talk about personal branding. Like you think about that career-wise these days, a lot of people talk about personal branding, and like the Jordan brand, what that's truly worth is just incredible.
Yeah.
Wayne Gretzky. I don't know if it actually says how much this is, but back from his LA Kings days, forgot he even played there.
Yeah. Almost won the cup. Those are ugly jerseys. Wow.
Yeah. And we got time for one more. Maybe I'll pull up this one here because it's fun. This dog and cat you can adopt soon. They're just going through their medical checks, I think it was saying on here. The dog is blind. The cat is the seeing eye cat for the dog. They come as a pair. Man. They have been together their entire lives. The owner had to give them up. So the cat actually looks out for the dog. And they had to be put up. So they're in a home. Sorry, not in a home now, but they're going to be up for adoption soon. They're actually in Alberta, Alberta. I've never heard of that town actually. But yeah, pretty cool story there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. The animal friendships gets me every time. I think it gets everybody every time. Right. But it's like, oh man, I am, unfortunately, we have a pretty high maintenance cat ourselves right now. And it's like an enormous amount of our time and a considerable amount of money keeping him alive right now. He's got like a bunch of different things, allergies and stuff. Otherwise, I would totally spring for these guys because you can't not love them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We adopted a cat during quarantine.
Oh, really?
Somehow I was convinced for this. And I'm along for the ride, I feel like some days. And so the cat was hit by a car. So it was hit by a car. It's got like a plate in its mouth. It doesn't have feeling on one side of its mouth. It's lost an eye. Oh my God. It's got a plate on one side. Apparently it has metal rods in one of his legs as well. But so far it's been super cool cat, really chill, and got along with the dog immediately. Like I have a very big dog. It's about 110, 120 pound Bernese Mountain Dog. It can look pretty intimidating to cats, I'm sure. This cat was, right up buddies with the dog on day one. So
that's amazing.
Cool.
Yeah. Alrighty. Cool. Well, thanks for jumping on, Sander.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure to see you guys.
Yeah, you too. Well, hopefully we'll see you sometime later on in this year, but great to have you on. Appreciate you jumping in as always.
Absolutely. Until next time.
All right.
Bye,
see you, folks. Bye. Thanks for checking this out today. If you're watching via YouTube right now, go ahead and click subscribe down below. Also click the bell for notifications. That way you will find out when we are dropping a new video or when we're going live. Also, there's darylandboo.com. If you head over to that, leave your name and email address, we will drop a weekly technical newsletter in your inbox every Monday. Also, this is available via podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify. Head over to one of those, hit subscribe, and you'll be able to listen to us in the car on your commute or during a walk or a run. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time.